The CEO invited me to lunch only to tell me we're going in a different direction. After building the tech division from nothing, I was being replaced by the owner's nephew. These things happen, I replied with a smile. No one realized that I had already seen it coming for months. My name is Derek. I'm 42, and for 11 years, I've been the backbone of Riverton Manufacturing's IT infrastructure. Not that you'd know it from our company website or quarterly reports. I built our network security from the ground up when we were still using Windows XP and storing passwords on sticky notes. Turned a 5-person help desk into a 30-person operation that kept 3 production facilities running 24/7. The machines don't stop in Milwaukee, and neither did I. I wasn't even supposed to be there that long. Took the job as a stopgap after my divorce, something to keep me busy while I figured out what was next. But I was good at it. Really good. And somewhere along the way, those servers and networks became mine, not legally, but in every way that mattered. The lunch was at Maxwell's, the kind of place with white tablecloths where executives take clients they want to impress. Not the kind of place where you fire someone, but Preston Campbell, our CEO, was always about appearances. "Derek, you've been invaluable," he said, cutting into his steak. "But we need fresh perspectives, someone with vision for where tech is heading." Translation: we found someone cheaper who won't push back when the board makes stupid decisions. Harrison's nephew just finished his master's at MIT. Brilliant kid, specialized in digital transformation. I nodded, took a sip of water. "Who's handling the transition?" Preston looked relieved I wasn't making a scene. "You'll have 6 weeks. We'll announce after the quarterly all-hands." I signed the NDA he brought before dessert arrived, smiled and shook his hand, told him I understood business decisions had to be made. Back at my desk, I noticed my admin credentials had already been downgraded, my name removed from the leadership team email chain. They'd decided before lunch, probably weeks ago. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from anger, though there was plenty. Not from fear about finding a new job, but because of what I'd noticed in the server logs 3 months earlier. Small, unauthorized access attempts from an IP address I traced to the executive floor. Someone poking around in systems they shouldn't know existed, looking at my documentation, my security protocols, my contingency plans. They weren't just replacing me. They were mining me for everything I knew first. I moved to Milwaukee 16 years ago following Ellie after we got married. Left a decent security job in Minneapolis because she got into graduate school here. We were young, ambitious. I figured I'd find something. The divorce blindsided me. 7 years of building a life, then suddenly papers on the kitchen counter. "We want different things," she said. "No fights, no warning signs, just done." When Riverton hired me, I was sleeping on my brother's couch. They needed someone to patch together their failing network infrastructure after a ransomware attack. I was supposed to be temporary, but I saw potential. These manufacturing guys knew machines, but not computers. Their entire operation, millions in equipment, hundreds of jobs, was running on outdated systems, one crash away from disaster. I pitched Preston a 5-year overhaul plan. He gave me the budget and let me work. For 3 years, I barely saw daylight, rebuilt every network, trained staff, created backups and fail-safes. When the Northeast blackout hit, we were the only facility in the region that stayed online. The board noticed. Preston started bringing me to meetings. My budget tripled. I hired a team, good people like Vanessa, who became my right hand, and Luis, who could code his way through any problem. We weren't just IT anymore. We were the reason Riverton could promise clients they'd never miss a deadline. Harrison Wells, the majority owner, shook my hand at the company Christmas party in 2019. "You turned us into a modern operation," he said. "We couldn't have expanded without your systems." I thought I'd found my place. Somewhere I mattered. The first crack appeared last September. A consultant showing up unannounced to audit our digital infrastructure. He asked basic questions about systems I designed myself. When I asked who authorized the audit, he mentioned the executive team and changed the subject. Then my access to board meeting minutes disappeared from the shared drive. "Server cleanup," the explanation read. In December, Preston started canceling our weekly briefings, always with a reasonable excuse. At the New Year leadership retreat, I overheard Harrison talking about his nephew graduating. Brilliant with computers, he said. Silicon Valley companies fighting over him. I didn't think much of it. Should have. The final sign came when Vanessa told me about a meeting she'd been invited to, a strategic planning session I should have led. When she mentioned my name, Preston had changed the subject. Something felt off, she said. Like they were planning around you. I brushed it off. Loyal to a fault, my ex used to say. 2 days after the lunch, I stood in the server room at 7:00 p.m., long after most people had gone home. The quiet hum of machinery had always calmed me. These racks of servers, the blinking lights, the cooling systems, I'd selected every component, designed the redundancies. This was my space. I ran my hand along the edge of the main console. 11 years of my life hidden behind these walls. I turned to find Nathan Blake, Harrison's nephew, standing in the doorway, clean-cut, expensive watch, casual confidence. He couldn't have been more than 30. Just routine checks, I said. You need something? Getting the lay of the land. He walked in like he already owned the place. Preston mentioned you'd be showing me around soon. Did he? Nathan studied the server configuration. Impressive setup, a bit old school, but solid. Old school. I'd upgraded these systems 8 months ago. Your documentation is thorough, he continued. Been reading through your protocols. I have some ideas for modernization. He said it like he was doing me a favor. Looking forward to hearing them. The words tasted like chalk. After he left, I sat down at my workstation, opened the access logs. Nathan's credentials had been created 3 weeks before my lunch with Preston. He'd been given top-level administrator access. Already viewed my entire documentation library. I pulled out my phone and texted Luis. Can you meet tomorrow before work? Coffee at Joe's. 6:30. That night I drove to the lakefront, parked where Ellie and I used to watch sunsets. The water was black under the winter sky. I thought about the day Preston had promoted me to director. You're the backbone of this place, he'd said. We couldn't run without you. Turns out backbones are replaceable too. Luis was already at the coffee shop when I arrived the next morning, dark circles under his eyes. He knew something was wrong. They're phasing me out, I said without preamble. He nodded slowly. I figured. They've been asking weird questions, having me explain your systems. When? Couple weeks now. He looked down at his coffee. I'm sorry, man, I should have told you. I didn't blame him. Luis had kids, a mortgage. What's your plan? He asked. I hadn't realized I had one until he asked. But sitting there watching early morning commuters hustle past the window, something settled inside me. A clarity I hadn't felt since finding Ellie's divorce papers. They think everything's in the documentation, I said quietly. But we both know it's not. Luis leaned forward. The proprietary tools, the workarounds. I nodded. The patches I built that aren't in any manual, the custom monitoring system, the client interface no one else fully understands. Derek, I'm not going to sabotage anything, I said, but I'm not going to give away what's mine either. Luis studied me for a moment, then nodded. He understood. I need copies of everything I developed personally, I said, and I need to know who's still loyal. The official announcement came during the all-hands meeting the following week. Preston standing at the podium talking about exciting transitions and fresh perspectives. Nathan beside him, smiling politely at the appropriate moments. Derek has been instrumental in building our IT infrastructure, Preston said, not looking at me. And we're grateful for his contributions as he helps us transition to Nathan's leadership over the next 6 weeks. Murmurs rippled through the room. Most of the IT team looked shocked. Vanessa's eyes found mine from across the room, a silent question. I gave her the smallest of nods. After the meeting, I requested a sit-down with Prest, On and HR. Pointed out that several of the systems Nathan would be taking over were built by me outside normal work hours using my own development framework. The employment contract is clear, said Diane from HR, sliding a document across the table. Anything developed during your tenure is company property. Not everything, I countered. The System Sync interface was developed before I joined Riverton. I licensed it to the company but retained ownership. It's right there in the original agreement. Preston shifted uncomfortably. That was 10 years ago, Derek. The company has evolved. So has System Sync. Every update, every integration was built on my original code. I leaned forward. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want proper compensation for my intellectual property. Preston and Diane exchanged glances. We'll look into it, Preston said finally. In the meantime, please focus on the transition with Nathan.